I really think the kind of seeing how you have come through different challenges with just grace and being yourself, right? Not saying, oh, this is how I'm supposed to grieve, so this is what I'm going to do. I have to do what's going to work for me. And if that upsets people, I'm not sorry, right? This is who I am. This is how I'm going to own it. And I think that's big in all parts of our life, is that we need to own who we are, and we need to figure out what works for us and not worry about what anybody else is doing.
And also modeling another way.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's truly the most important, that I wanted to model that grief doesn't always have to look like, like women or men would say to me, I can't imagine if that ever happening. They wouldn't want to talk to me when I showed up. And I'm like, baby, I don't want you to imagine.
Yeah.
I don't want you to imagine. No, erase it.
Welcome to Her Unshakable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And we're excited to have Kate McKay with us today. She is a dynamic, and when I say dynamic, I mean dynamic, beyond international keynote speaker, but dynamic international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and entrepreneur. With a passion for personal and professional development, she empowers audiences to unlock their full potential and live, see, I messed up a word, a life of impact. As the creator of the science-backed Agility Force system, Kate helps individuals and organizations achieve extraordinary results. Her work has been featured in USA Today and Entrepreneur magazine, and she continues to inspire her audiences worldwide. Okay, I got an extra paragraph in there. I was like, wait, right?
It's like, and okay, here she is. Let's get after it.
And here she is. And here she is.
Okay. Let
her speak for herself.
Yes, exactly. Well, welcome.
Yeah, hey,
welcome.
Thanks so much. The thing is about Unshakable Confidence is such a freaking good name is because so much of confidence is based on not being afraid to stumble through everything and know that somehow, some way, the right people are going to catch you, and then you're going to be fine. You're going to be more than fine.
That's what we say about that. We don't take out any kind of, I don't even call them mistakes, but when I read something wrong or pronounce something wrong, we just keep it in there because we're human, right? And that's how you learn. That's how you move forward. So
true story.
It's my way of confidence there.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk a bit first about your life in general. So how did you get to where you are today? Which is a very big question, but you know where I'm going.
When you're talking to someone who's old.
You are not old.
Yeah, I am, dude. No, I have a very young spirit. But I usually introduce myself as like, listen, I'm one of 9 children. I grew up in a family of 11. I'm 6 of 9. So I'm still every single day blessed that I have my own underwear in my underwear drawer. So thanks be to God for that.
Yeah.
Like legit. And why I have such appreciation for simple things, because when you grow up in chaos, and being from a big family, no matter what, is chaotic. It's the simple pleasures. And I believe that much of that was taught by my parents and the values that they infused in us, despite the chaos. And I say this, but don't tell my family, but I was sort of like my mom's favorite. And like you do have an agreement coming into the world that you play certain roles. And for me, I was the inspirator. I was here to bring light to my mom, who was in complete friggin' overwhelm with all those kids. So my job was to bring humor to her and lightness and make her laugh. And I was honored to play that part.
So it's funny you talk about the chaos in a family. So obviously we have a big family. We have 6 kids, not 9, but we have 6 kids. And Olivia, are you thankful for underwear every day?
Now that I've moved out, yeah, because I mean, like having sisters, I think regardless if you're in a big family or not, having sisters, they steal everything. Like literally everything.
So true.
But I mean, I can't say I was any better. Like I stole it back. So
Exactly. Yeah.
And in our house, if you had leftovers, you would write your name on the box so that nobody else would eat it.
Oh,
Otherwise,
I think
it was
about
fair
this.
game.
And that would
One
never.
time-
My sister used to write on her Diet Pepsi, "I spit in it," because no one would care if you wrote the damn note. They take
No,
it.
and usually it doesn't matter when you write the note.
Yeah.
And I remember actually one time, my senior year of high school, I sent a text in the group chat that was like, if you're not gluten-free, do not eat the gluten-free leftovers. And my mom goes, I ate them and I am gluten-free. And I was like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Mom.
I just thought it was, one of the other kids.
Right, exactly.
I was hungry. What can I say?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the righteous role of motherhood. But
So what's the age range?
Oh yeah, so the oldest. Well, everyone's older now, right? Because I was one of the younger ones at number 6. But they were pretty all close in age. Just like the Irish Catholic from the Midwest kind of mentality. So the more the merrier. My mom's sister had 12 kids, so it was that's just the way that it was. It was cooperation over competition, and it's all on the basic principles that my parents married, which are very spiritual principles, which is kindness and taking care of people who are less fortunate. And I'm grateful for that, my spiritual belief system that was infused in me. And it helped me get through the hardest things. It helps me every day. And in particular, I would say that it helped me when I lost my son in 2017 to suicide. Because what do you have when what you most value gets taken away? And you have to figure out a way to find the light and the strength and the confidence, because we're talking about confidence here. That confidence is an inner infused, art and science, that you have to find the light. And I believe that confidence is just looking and finding and seeking the light, both within and without of you, and being the light for others. I can't imagine a more holy calling, to be the light for others and to be the beacon of light for others and to bring fun and friggin' crazy joy. Because life is insane. Life is extraordinarily difficult and painful. And yet we can still infuse joy for other people. And I think we do that by presence. I was a theater major, and I'm classic ADHD, like all over the place, never shutting up. And then I found theater. I got shipped off to private high school for somehow, some way. My mother was like, Katie's out of here. And like, we had no money. And somehow, some way, my mom like used the resources to send me off. And when I got there, I was B- everything, because I love to learn, but it was like, there's so much to learn of broad base. But I remember when I got into theater, and I was like, wait a minute, you get an A and all you got to do is like listen and respond authentically to people. Like, that's my superpower, people. And part of it is trauma. Part of it is when you grow up with trauma, you become mastered at remembering people and their stories, so that you'll always know where they are and you can predict if they're going to go off on you or not, or whatever. But the other part is really, I genuinely care and I remember everything about everyone. I get downloads when I see people again and be like, oh yeah, how's your mom? And oh my God, I remember you were talking about those chocolate chip cookies. And then, when you had that, that puppy, and, like, I'll remember everything that people tell me, and they'll be like, oh, you freak me out what you remember. But that's a superpower for me. And I think that's the gift of presence. And presence has brought me through amazing spiritual growth, business success, and fitness success, to be honest,
Yeah, I want to touch on that for a second, because and I want to tie it back to your son, and we haven't talked about your brother yet. But so you did something really cool. You've been doing something really cool for a long time, but you had something really cool happen just recently, which is
So I just won first place. Well, I won 2 first place titles in a bikini competition, which is a combination of like a beauty pageant and it's a beauty pageant and a bodybuilding show. So, I rocked it. I worked really freaking hard. And this really does tie in with confidence, because there's something called the confidence competency loop. And y'all write that down, because it's real science. And when you suck at something and you proceed to do it and get better at it, it infuses you with a higher level of confidence. Everyone will suck at something. And the only way you're going to get better is if you take radical action and have the commitment to do it better. And that's the confidence competency loop. I've been competing since I was 43 after I had my kids. And so it's been my, when your little kids bowl and they put the bumpers up.
Yep.
Competition is that for me. I don't even care about the show as much. I do, but it's more about when I'm prepping for a show and it's intense and it's a spiritual quest of incredible magnitude, the challenge, the darkness that you have to go through, how we fuel ourselves with food as comfort, how much hunger covers, and not just physical hunger, but spiritual hunger and psychological hunger. It's like a real deal. But it is when I have a lot going on in my life is when I usually will pick a show. Like I'm writing a book. I'm trying to finish up my book. And so I'm like, I'll pick a show because I know it's going to provide me the structure and the catalyst I need.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go on stage half-ass. Like I will come to the show at show day, the funnest, most helpful person, but I'm there to win. And the only reason why I can show up like that is I did everything to show up in my A game because I don't want to let other people down. That's my goal.
How did you decide to start this?
I think growing up from a big family, Olivia, we never had the resources for me to be an athlete. And I would have been a really good athlete as a kid because I was always really agile and strong, but there were no resources. And when I started lifting weights at 21, literally, dude, women did not lift weights. I would go into a gym because I didn't like the all women's gym. It was pink and they had the shaky machines.
Yeah.
Crazy. And there were no women. So I
funny.
would go, since I have 5 brothers, I'm comfortable in a male vibe. I'm more comfortable there because men in general, they'll talk about ideas where a lot of women will talk about other women. I don't care about those times. I could care less. We'll talk about ideas and inspiration. That's my jam, right? And I would go into a gym and I'm like, game on, headset. I call them Guido protectors.
That is so funny.
And, but then there were no bathrooms for women. There was like one bathroom behind like a sheet. I'd be like, hey, can I watch the bathroom door? And a guy would stand there like this, making sure I was all set when I was taking a leak. But that's just the way that it was. And no women lifted weights. But I did know that lifting weights calmed me down. It regulated my soul against the weight. First time I lifted weight, I was like, oh, that's what that is, right? And I do believe that there is, it regulates my soul. And I think everyone should strength train. I think everyone who doesn't is absolutely foolhardy. Mitochondria are made in muscle. If you want a healthy brain, you've got to do resistance training. Anyone who doesn't, I can preach on it forever because now neuroscience is on my side. Finally, I've been talking about it forever, knowing that the science was real, but anyway, yeah. And the reason why I started competing, that was the original question, was because at 43, I'd already had my kids. And then I decided that I wanted to be in better shape. I was always pretty good, but like it's 70% diet. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't eating.
Yeah, I always say abs are made in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But your biceps are definitely not because Kate's got some serious biceps going on.
I got some time. I sent you part of the intake is one of my bikini pictures so you can see all that. But you guys can all follow me on TikTok too. And I do have a YouTube channel about behind the scenes of a bikini competitor, which has actually been a lot of fun bringing everyone in on that. Yeah.
I think it's amazing. And I think that, again, it sounds like part of it was a big piece of healing for you after your son committed suicide. Is that kind of part of the path? Was that really helped in that, or what helped with the healing? Because
well, I think that I believe that anything that you go through, you can grow through. And my mom, when my brother was killed, my mom didn't do well, and she retreated and became angry and bitter, and used alcohol and was more divisive in how kind of checked out. And I knew I wasn't going to do that. Like, how could it be that I was 54 and my mother was 54 and we both lost sons at 22? Like, what is up with that? And I was like, there's something in this that my son in somehow, some way was a sacrificial lamb of healing. And I will be damned if I roll down and live out of integrity for the life that he was. How dare I even consider rolling in a ball. So I just moved through the mess. I did grieve very, very differently. It made people very uncomfortable. My family hated it because I was so public, because I blew the lid off of all the shame and guilt that we had in our family, in our DNA. And I was hell no to that. Hell no. And it was, you know what the thing is though about confidence is that you have to believe that even if you're doing it alone, that I couldn't sleep at night if I knew that I wasn't respecting my son by still being the light. I wouldn't respect myself if I knew I wasn't doing the best in something or serving at the highest and best. I would not do well for myself if I didn't lay on my head on the pillow every single day and feel like I made a friggin' difference. I would hate myself. So a lot of it is fused by what used to be very deep self-hatred and self-loathing. And so my confidence is fueled from hell no to that. And I think we only heal and grow through service. That's our highest goal.
So kind of jumping off of that, but how do you navigate fear when you're stepping into something new and uncertain? Because we talk a lot about this on the show, that we want people to try new things. That's how you grow, right? It's not about doing the same thing all the time, but really fear is such an issue with so many people. The fear of failure, and not just the fear of failure, but just generalized fear, irrational fears, right? Too.
There's three predominant fears, and this is the work that I do in the courage work that I do, is that it's fueled by either it's going to be too hard. A lot of people are lazy; they don't want to change. The outcome isn't going to be what I want it to be, because everyone thinks they can control an outcome. Good luck with that. Can't control anything. The only thing you can control is the choices you make every single day to be better and to show up and be kinder, even if people walk away from you and diss you, because people will disregard you. It's a hard lesson. It's my hardest lesson. I've been disregarded so many times. I'm shocked and amazed. And and then the other piece of it is that people fear loss, or on the other side of that is judgment. That if I make a choice, if I make this decision, that I'm going to lose love, family love, mother love, father love, love of teacher, all the foundational traumas, that we're going to lose love. And my question to you is, why is it that we commit to making sure people love us more than the commitment that we have to our own highest and best self that we have here been chosen to live into? That is non-negotiable for me, because my primary relationship isn't with my people around me. My primary relationship was with me and God. I was given a gift of be a certain way. And why would I diminish that for anybody? And I think that people interpret that as being extraordinarily egoic. And I am literally like one of the humblest people I know. You want anything of mine, I will give it to you. I don't have attachment to things. Every single day I get up and have to choose to live. After you lose a child, it's messed up, you guys. And so I have to choose living, because you're not attached to the same things. You just don't have it. It's different. Yeah. You become different. Yeah.
And I think that idea that every day we have these choices, right? You can choose to be miserable. You can choose to be happy. You can choose to move forward. And is it easy? No, it's not easy.
But don't make it so serious, though. Simone, that's the thing. I think that people take themselves so damn seriously. Relax. Nothing is that serious. Like, it's ridiculous. Everything is ridiculous. And if you can't actually laugh when things are really challenging, like at the ridiculousness of it, you have to find a way to bring levity in. If you can't, like, who are the people that you know that are so damn serious that every time you're around them, it's depressing? I don't want to be one of those people. And we can choose how we're going to affect other people energetically. Why would I want other people to feel suffering because I'm suffering? I don't understand that. I would share and be empathic with you in your suffering, but my job isn't here to sit in your suffering. My job is to see it, hold it, and then either love you through or kick your ass out of it. That's my job. And I'm not afraid to tell people they're full of shit, because don't make me lie to you. Don't make me lie. I will not lie to you. if you're selling yourself short. And you tell me you want something, and then all of a sudden you're acting a different way, and I'll be like, I'm sorry, knock, knock, knock. Did you tell me that you wanted, They're like, yeah, all right. I was just wondering, like, if you want me to let go of that dream for you. No, I want you to hold it. Okay. Because right now I'm a keeper of about 1,000+ dreams in this head of mine that I'm holding for people that they've told me they want it. And if you don't want it, that's chill. I don't care. But don't tell me you want something and then you're not willing to face it. When you have people around you that are willing to push you along and love you along. And you have to say goodbye to some people that you're made agreements with that are keeping you small. Because you have people within your life right now that you're settling with, everybody does, that don't want you to be the person you came here to be. True that.
I like the idea of finding the humor in all the things, because I can tell you, like, even today, and right now it's not in the moment, it was not humorous. It probably still isn't humorous, but I'm going to try to make it a little humorous, because, like, so we've been dealing with this financial situation where my mom is giving some money to my niece and nephew, and it has been a shit show from day one. Like, the company says the account was emptied, but then they say, oh no, the money's in this account. And then yesterday, so finally we thought we had it all settled. She gets a check from that company. She goes and deposits it in the bank. It says that it's cleared. So then we open up 2 separate accounts, one for each kid. We put the money in, and then today her bank shows that she has a huge negative balance, and she's in tears. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what now? And the humorous part is the bank is closed today because it's, Jimmy Carter's funeral. And so the bank's closed. And so my poor mom she's like, well, I guess I won't sleep tonight. And I'm like, okay, what do I look at in this situation? Right. Because sometimes it's so hard when you're in the moment, but you're like, oh my gosh, everything in a row. How many times could this go wrong? Right. I mean,
and that's absurd though, too, at the same thing. It's like, and like even Thich Nhat Hanh, like my son Will, he was going to be a monk. He was in a Buddhist monastery, Thai monastery, and he used to meditate. Dude, he was like the grittiest, most fortitude, most friggin' light-filled human you've ever met. He had aura coming out, I swear to God. He almost freaked me out when he was born because he was so light-filled. But Thich Nhat Hanh says that one of the ways that we address the stress is to say, my darling, I see you are suffering, and I am here for you. And then shut up. You don't need to solve it. Sometimes it's enough to say, wow, I see this is really hard. I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. Shut up. Some people don't want advice. They just want to know you're there to struggle. I'm sorry you're struggling. And when I read that, I was like, man, that guy never was married. Like, he's a priest. And, and like, yeah, it's pretty powerful to have someone know that they're with you and it's not something you can solve. And that takes a lot of grace.
And having your voice heard, right? I mean, I can tell you so many people don't want the advice, but they just want to be able to say it, because when you say it, then you can move forward.
Then what? Because most of the people don't, though. Most people want to bitch and complain about the problem. And the questions, and write these down, people listening, is that the questions you want to ask are twofold. I wonder what you could do differently next time in that situation. Or I'm wondering why you're asking me that. Or I'm wondering what. So you open the question up to make them make another choice. Or you say, if someone says something really rude to you, I'm curious why you would say that. I'm curious.
I've used that many times.
Yeah, I'm curious about what the next steps are that you suggest that we do from here. So you don't say you. I'm curious and I'm wondering. So if you can stay in that place of, I'm not saying this is easy by any stretch, but if you stay in the curiosity and not have to, I don't ever feel like if someone ever says to me, you're right, I hate that. I don't want anyone ever to tell me I'm right. I just want to be heard. I hear you. Yeah. I hear you. I'm like, oh, thank God. I can go to bed now. But if someone says you're right, I'm like, no. I don't want to be right. I really seriously don't want to be right. I hate being right. I don't want you to just agree. I want to just say, yeah, we're in communion. This is a communal understanding. To me, that's the highest form of spiritual connection.
I think when you put that question back on someone, that I think that it kind of takes people off guard.
They don't like it.
I'm curious why you would say something like that, because I have used that many times in my life. I'm curious why you would ask that or why you would say that, and you usually see them stumble because they're like, "Oh wait, wait."
Because Olivia, what would you say about that? Because you as a younger generation, I think, are a little bit better about truth telling than my generation and maybe even your mom's. But how do you view having healthy relationships with your friends at your age? Are you able to talk honestly about feelings and experiences?
I honestly, yes, me personally, but it also, I would say it depends on the friend group that I'm in at that current moment in time. And it depends on my level of comfortability and like also the ability to read the room. And hey, like this might not be the right audience for this conversation, but I will be able to find the right audience for the conversation. In terms of truth telling, I would like to say yes, but I also think that my generation is kind of wrapped up in the idea that their truth is the truth, that each individual person is the right message rather than whatever it is, or
just a matter of
just
principle.
Shared. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like these are the values that we all share because we're this age and we all believe in this candidate and this is the truth. Like this is it.
Yeah. Rather than, I think people don't take the time in my generation, and maybe it's just because like, the elections that we've been able to vote in have been particularly tremulous or tumultuous, but people don't take the time to understand other people's point of views. They write them off if it just doesn't agree. Even if it's like, you could find a very simple common understanding.
It's fascinating. It's super fascinating. Well, look at you modeling another way, just by the sheer fact that here you are with two older women that, me in particular, I won't going to put your mom in my category.
Your I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close to you.
She's between generations, but I think it's important, the wisdom that we share amongst ourselves, that, that's why I ask you that, because I want you to teach me too, because you have wisdom that I need to know and understand so that I can be a deeper relator to younger generations. It's very important to me.
I think that really having open, honest conversations, again, when I was younger, you did not do that. I can tell you my mom's generation, absolutely. You did not, anything you struggled with, you kept to yourself. It stayed in those walls. It was never discussed. And I do think one of the things, and Liv, you correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely because there's more talk about mental health now, it's not like the taboo thing. If you say, I'm going to see a therapist, everybody's going to see a therapist.
Oh, I mean, I start because I just had therapy yesterday. Half the conversations I started today was, this is what I discussed with my therapist yesterday.
Right.
Oh, I was talking about that with my therapist, actually. That I think is a complete shift, because we talk about that all the time. We talk about medications, like in terms of like psych medications, and just like the importance of like seeing a therapist for your mental health.
Yes.
I think that's a conversation, at least with my friend groups and the people that I strongly interact with, that is not taboo.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's good. And in some ways it's gone a little bit too extreme, I think, that you guys define as a culture by your mental which has become a little bit more of an identity than it's like, it's not something necessarily you want to tell everybody. Like that's what I tell my daughter. It's like, your mental health or your diagnosis is not like, it's not what you put in your resume. It's like that's private. Maybe it's cool for like the people that you love, but there is such a thing as your private self.
I agree. And I think that that's something that my generation doesn't understand, is the whole idea that you don't need to share everything, whether that's online or with your friend group or with just, the general people in your class. Some things are private and you don't have to share it. And also, sometimes people just don't want to listen, and that's like, okay. You need to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah. Super helpful. I love that. I think we've gone to the other extreme, and, I think there's a peaceful in between of having it be okay And yet at the same time, understanding that we're like onions, and and everyone doesn't have a right to have access to our information, positive or negative. That we're not putting our everything out there, because people judge. What is it? In 3 seconds, people have already created an image of like who you are, right? And we're in charge of that. We're in charge of how other people see us, whether we want to think we are or not. And it's open to interpretation. But I choose to be positive no matter what the situation is, and bring presence. My presence, 100%.
I choose to be authentic. Yeah. And I think that can turn a lot of people off. But at least in the end of the day, I know that I represented who I am as an individual.
So good. That's so good, Liv. What about you, Simone? What's your take on this?
So I think for so long, I didn't represent myself in my true light. I really was hiding behind a facade, pretending I was something that I truly wasn't. I struggled so much with self-doubt that I just kind of went through life. And this is what people assumed, who they assumed I was. Yes. And at the end of the day, I just started feeling worse and worse about myself because nobody knew who I truly was. And I think that has now really shifted. And I think that's really good for my kids to see, because I think that they're like, okay, yeah, don't play games.
Yes.
Say it how it is. And you want to wear the dress, right? You don't ever want to wear a dress, wear the leggings. Yeah. At the end of the day, just be yourself. But there is so many societal pressures that say you have to do things a certain way. And really, I hope that as we move forward, that will change more and more, because I think that for the younger generations, it's just too much pressure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was interesting. It took me until I was like 60 to realize, to even say that I was a bodybuilder. I kept that whole part of my life super quiet, and people be like, wow, you're really in shape. You know, like, oh yeah, I lift weights, like whatever. I never said, yeah, it's what I do. But now I realize it's the art and science that's no different from a fine art, you know, or being a writer, like, which I am too, or a podcaster, all the other things I am. It's just the art of creation. And I just happen to use my physique in that. Right. And so, but I always had so much shame around bodybuilding, because in the generation where I grew up, if you lifted weights, and I always say that to women when I walk in the gym, you have no idea underneath the squat rats. And no women did that that I felt that people would think that I was stupid, because there was association with people who lift weights were, number one, arrogant, and number two, were not smart. And they cared too much about what they look like. When people first started running, Liv, people were like, why are you running? What are you running away from? Like, people couldn't get it, dude. And so, you know, it's the same way with the weights that people just assumed. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm way smarter than I am cute. You know, that's what I tell people. It's like, because I'm very well read and educated, and because I'm interested in pursuing the highest and best of everything. So bodybuilding is just an aspect, right? And it's hard to bring everything to the front, because it's like, you know what I mean?
But that's kind of the best part, is that like we are multidimensional. And so I just am going through like syllabus week for classes, and you know, the question I get, like, what's the most interesting thing about you? But there isn't just like one thing. I'm multifaceted. I'm not just a student. I am a podcast host. I'm an individual. Like, I have so many hobbies that it's hard to just say one thing.
I know. It's like, don't classify me.
Yeah.
But everybody likes to put you in a box, right? So, and that's the thing I think we need to move away from. Well, it's easy. It's easy. She's, you know.
But it's honestly easier not to, because
I agree.
Then you're going to have to divide people in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that we can cure that by being confident in the self enough. And I think one of the things that, when you asked me about fear, and I talked about the different types of fear, one of the things I think that comes with ADHD and comes when you have a lot of trauma is that you become way more fearless than most people. Like, so I've done, people cannot believe that. They're like, how do you do those things? Because I'm not a tree. Number one, I can move. I can move geographically. I can move psychologically. I can move. We're flexible humans. And I'm not afraid to try new things, because you can always pivot. And the truth is, we're not judged by our knowledge. You're not judged by your wisdom. You're judged by the actions you take. That's the only thing that people remember. Your ideas don't matter a hill of beans. It's the actions you take and what you produce that elicit impact and change on others. And you do it through self-excavation, and you do it through social excavation and service. And they can happen at the same time. I think the younger generation, and I think even the baby boomers think, oh, I have to do all this therapy and this trauma work, and then I'm going to date. No, you move forward in your hot mess and you go serve.
Yeah. So I had a friend yesterday come over and we were talking about something. It's just like one of her friends going through relationship issues and a breakup. And the guy said to her, like, we'll get back together when my relationship and God is stronger. And so that was like, well, why does that relate to the relationship you have with her? Those should be two separate things. Those don't need to correlate.
Yes. It's like either it works or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So go do your work. And if by chance we circle back, I do believe that most times relationships do circle back to heal. And it could be like a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years. But then you do usually get your answer, Liv. That's going to freak you out. That's one of the greatest wisdoms I think that happens when you get older is like, you think you're never going to be able to heal certain things or the heartbreak or whatever else. And all of a sudden, like you'll see that person or a situation will come up, even when they die or like a dream or something, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm peaceful with that. Everything is an upward motion of evolution and healing. Everything, unless you're destroying yourself with drugs and alcohol, and then you're in destructive mode and you're in de-evolution. But in general, life is an evolutionary project. We're in a process of evolution. So trust and believe that if you don't have to have the last word, if you can text back and you're like this, right? And you're like, and then it's like, delete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like people need to use diaries a little bit more.
Instead of hitting the send button.
Yeah,
nothing is way more powerful because then people have to sit with what they said. And it's way more powerful oftentimes than any kind of spewing that you would have to try to prove yourself right.
You can't win over social media. You can't win over a text message, right? You just can't.
It's dumb.
And it just makes you feel bad about yourself when you then respond or react to something that's really negative. I'm like, let it go. That comment from that person is about them. It has nothing to do with you. Walk
Even
away.
if it does, you don't have any, and it usually would have something to do with you because you trigger something in them, right? We could say it doesn't have anything
But
to do with
it's their issue.
Yeah, but it's actually the relationship issue.
Yeah.
Because you guys came together to resolve something or to trigger something. So either you're healing something or you're growing something or you're just not. No relationship is random. So if someone's triggered by something you wrote or you said, it's like, wow, they're triggered. That I happen to be a person that triggers a lot of people because I'm outspoken. I trigger people hate me. I'm like, why do you hate me? I don't hate you.
Yeah.
But it happens when someone's confident or shows up authentically or, what they perceive as arrogant or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. But it does have something to do with you. But the choice is that you can also be the mirror back of positive self-love. And that oftentimes is when you don't respond. What you're doing is, that's okay. I got you. I get you.
I'm thinking of more
with that, but I got you.
I'm thinking more of when someone has something really nasty to say to you and you haven't done anything.
Right.
And it really is more of a reflection of whether they're jealous of you or they're just, there's something going on in their life that they're putting on you. And that's when I'm saying it's best to just say, okay.
And then that's to yourself. You say, oh, darling, I see you are suffering and I am here for you, or I am not here for you.
Yeah.
Peace out. I'm elsewhere, right? Because people get hostile. Like it's like intense. Like the negative comments that I get just from the bikini competitions, like because people like over sexualize it or something. I'm like, oh, relax with I have a very healthy sexuality. My mom was like, Katie, you're sensual. Like you love good food. And that one of the things, the questions is just that I know we're wrapping up, but one of the questions that you had stated was what was the best advice? And it's like, always eat the dessert, man. Like,
oh, that's such a good one to hear from a bodybuilder.
Yeah, like food, life is supposed to be a celebration. Like my new coach is like, yeah, you need to send me your weight like every day. I'm like, oh, hell, I don't. No, I don't. I'll give it
Yeah.
to you once a week, and then when we get closer to my show, I'll do it more frequent. But you're not going to tell me that I have to build on neuroses for you when I'm 26 weeks out from my next competition. No. I know it's not healthy to weigh myself every day 26 weeks out. Why would I do that? That just breeds anorexia and bulimia and body dysmorphia. I'm not committing to that. So I just had to set them straight. But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like Liv is going to be using that comment now. Always have dessert, because she loves her sweet treats.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I've suffered from eating disorders in the past, and I like get that.
Dude,
mindset
totally.
is horrible. You can't get out of it.
And I would say to you, what I want to say to that, Liv, is the thing is a part of self-love and self-respect. Girlie, I want you to hear this, that self-love isn't always a thing. It's self-respecting, because people think, oh, self-love, you get a massage and you eat, whatever. How am I respecting myself? How I'm fueling myself with whether I'm reading something or watching something or thinking something or eat, it doesn't matter. And if we look at things as like, how do we self-honor and self-respect? It has a very different vibe, because women have kind of cornered the market on self-love. And I think it's kind of BS, because a lot of times you're going to make a positive decision that's not from self-love. It's from, I know I'm worth more than this. I don't believe it right now. But you know what? My future self is righteous in knowing that I deserve it. And I'm going to lean into that future version of me. Let's go. And that's it. Because self-love doesn't fuel action a lot. It doesn't. I think that's the biggest misconception that we've given in the self-help community. It doesn't. It's a little bit David Goggins, but I believe it's true. But before you have the dessert, always try to have your 3 ounces of protein.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think self-respect, I believe in self-love as well, but I believe that self-respect is the first step towards confidence.
What about self-honoring?
Right?
What is your take on that word, Simone, that concept? How do you, self-honoring?
Well,
honoring the self. What do you think of that?
I think it's a different version of all of them. Like we talk about, when we talk about self-respect, it really is about making sure I don't want to say obviously putting yourself first, but making sure that you understand that the most important person in your life is yourself. You have to take care of yourself first in all ways, shapes, and forms. But in terms of
like if you're
honoring
you're
yourself,
going to a retreat, maybe a spiritual event, you're supposed to go through it, right? To this weekend. Hopefully, I'm hoping that you're getting there. But
thank you.
When we look at it from our spiritual faith, to honor the gift or to self-honor what we were uniquely given, that's the part why I like honoring, because it really is honoring the vessel to which we were given. It's honor the gifts that were uniquely ours. It's honoring our relationship with self. It's also honoring our relationship with whatever our spiritual bent is. And then honoring the relationships as teachers. It just has a very different vibe, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I like the idea of thinking about it as honoring, because when I think about even like my relationship with my children, so my relationship with Liv, I really do honor that relationship, and I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that will remain intact, because it's such a powerful thing and I honor it. So yeah, I really like the way of talking about it like that.
Beautiful. It sounds so beautiful coming from you. Liv, what do you think about it?
I think that it's important because we don't do a lot for ourselves. And it's a new spin of like, okay, like self-worth, it's just a little bit different in the way of it's doing something fully for yourself. And it doesn't need to have any like positives for other people or make any other impact on your life besides, hey, like this made me feel good in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
And you think about what we're taught when we're younger. It's honor your mother and father, right? There's no honor yourself. Same thing with respect your peers, respect your teachers, respect your parents, your grandparents, but not respect yourself. So I think that honor yourself is so important. So that's great. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's so sweet. Because every time I say self-honor, I always go like this, like, yes. Because it's more gentle. Like respect has more of an edge, but honoring is just a very sweet thing, and it's kind of a little bit like grace, it's like a little bit like,
Give yourself grace.
Okay. Yeah. I don't need to fight for anything right now. I'm just going to eat that damn dessert. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, we have a couple minutes left, but I want to just make sure that we really tapped into, I know we talked around it a lot, but the agility mindset. So I really want to make sure we just touch for a couple minutes on that.
Oh, yeah, sure. So much of my training, I'm really interested in psychological mastery and the pursuit of excellence. I mean, my podcast is Master Your Life, and I'll be interviewing you tomorrow. I'm excited about that. But a lot of people, we talk about resiliency, and we even talked about that in this call, but what we don't talk about as much is fortitude. And fortitude is a very important word for me because it's foundational to who we are, that life can knock you down, that you can have a storm come into your life, figuratively or whatever, metaphorically. And you're able to stand on ground, unshakable ground. And that's why I think that fortitude and confidence go hand in hand, very much so. Yes. And I brought up the agility factor and what that's about because I believe my son was a reflection of the qualities of what makes someone agile. And agile psychologically is having clarity. It's having commitment to self. It also has a level of confidence and courage. We've talked about that before. There's a level of curiosity. Like these are all elements of it. A big one that people don't like at all, which is consistency. Consistently doing the thing you don't want to do. And because you don't feel like it doesn't really matter. What you feel about doesn't matter. That only lasts like 3 to 7 seconds, people. And then just expanding that into like, how ways that we challenge ourselves and we collaborate to make a real difference and in really ending up with how we're here to contribute. And I think the only way we can do that is by reflecting on who we are through these keystones and be able to have a greater impact through these elements of these pillars of growth. And when you think about it, Liv, I want to just thank you again because 90% or 92% of the population does no self-work. They don't do any spiritual or psychological reflection. They don't spend time on how can I build my sense of agency. Agency being having the ability in any given moment to accept what is and still dance through it, but not lose your crap. Like you still know who you are, even when the world is knocking you down. I'm here to have strong fortitude and a strong sense of agency because if I'm called to serve, I'm ready. We're all goddess warriors here. And we have to have that level of confidence to be ready if we're called to serve. I'm ready. And I'm honored to be ready.
I love that. So Liv, tell me your calendar for today.
Okay. Start taking on specific areas of your life with some kind of overriding intent. A commitment to turn off the autopilot you're currently coasting on. To be alive to your potential, eager to make a difference. To no longer just go along with the bullshit.
Nice.
I like that.
Me too. Perfect. Being intentional.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I love it, Liv. That's awesome.
Goes along with what we were talking about.
So, Liv, I'm just going to ask you one more question. I know it's your podcast, but I would love to know, what was your guys' takeaway from today, from what you heard that spoke to your heart?
That I can keep being myself regardless of what age I'm at.
Yes.
That I don't have to, lose any part of myself, I guess. Because I feel like there's a lot of women out there that are, I would say, like 40s to 60s that just don't know who they are.
So true.
Isn't that wild? Oh my gosh. You just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your journey. And Simone, what about you, babe?
I really think the kind of seeing how you have come through different challenges with just grace and being yourself, right? Not saying, oh, this is how I'm supposed to grieve, so this is what I'm going to do. I have to do what's going to work for me. And if that upsets people, I'm not sorry, right? This is who I am. This is how I'm going to own it. And I think that's big in all parts of our life, is that we need to own who we are, and we need to figure out what works for us and not worry about what anybody else is doing.
And also modeling another way. Because I think that that's truly the most important, that I wanted to model that grief doesn't always have to look like, like women or men would say to me, I can't imagine if that ever happening. They wouldn't want to talk to me when I showed up. And I'm like, baby, I don't want you to imagine.
Yeah.
I don't want you to imagine. No, erase it. Right. So you give them grace because I know merely my presence made people uncomfortable. Isn't that messed up? That we can go through something and people are actually like uncomfortable around you because you make them feel a certain way because they can't handle your pain. But we have to live in grace in that too. Right. And I really did want to model a different way to move through grief and to show that there's another path, that we don't have to self-destruct. So, man.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think that's
you guys,
huge.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for being here today.
Fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. Where can people find you?
Oh yeah, right on. So Kate S. McKay on YouTube. I do a bikini prep, both pre and post YouTube, the day in the life of a bikini person, and also as a podcaster, best-selling author, and high performance coach. I have a lot of fun with that. And I also have a podcast and Instagram, TikTok. I do a TikTok live called The Grit Girl Unleashed, and I do a Q&A on anything fitness, mindset, health, and wellness. I talk a little bit more about fitness now because that's really what people want to know, although it's not what I do, but it's what I privately do. But I am not a fitness coach per se, but I can help you with anything.
Yeah. I love that. So everything will be in the show notes, so you will definitely be able to find Kate and check out all the cool stuff that she does. Thank you so much for being here, Kate, and thank you for being here for this episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. Always remember, you are unshakable. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.